It's day 471. It's also August 20th, 2020. And we are in Thornton, Iowa.
You ever wake up in the morning and ask yourself, what am I doing? And more importantly, why? Yeah, me too. Hi, my name's Craig, and this is my story. A story about life. Life out there. For visuals while listening, search Life Out There on your favorite social media platform or use the links in the podcast description.
Yup, another pretty short drive. Barely put 45 miles in the rearview today. We zigzagged our way across this part of Iowa a bit when we found the Ingebretson Park and Campground. A small city park sort of thing, complete with electrical and water hookups. Even had an on-site dump station. Now, I'm not sure really why we felt like stopping here, but we soon figured out it was a good call. Backing into our spot at the very back of the park, we found ourselves just feet away from yet another slow-moving creek. This time, the Beaverhead Dam Creek. You know, it seems it just doesn't matter if we're in Humboldt or Daniel, Wyoming, Craig, Montana, or Thornton, Iowa. There's just something about the sound of water passing by that makes no matter where we are, just right. And then that wooden bridge that stretched over it. Weathered, but sturdy. The kind that creaks just a little bit underfoot, but you only hear it if you pay attention. That bridge would become a familiar path for Dougie and I. A shortcut into town and the Cenex, the neighborhood convenience store. You know, that place where the smell of diesel and gas mixes with the warmth of coffee and a bag of chips and a sandwich. Becoming so familiar. The hum of small-town life, I guess. And the things you lose sight of after a few decades in the urban sprawl of America. And just beyond that bridge, tucked into a grassy area behind the RV park, was something I'd never seen before. At first glance, it just looked like an open field, but it was dotted with these metal basket things, each one standing on a single pole, some sort of chain basket-like thing hanging from them. We didn't think much of it until that one afternoon when the field came to life. A group had gathered, players of all ages, gripping brightly colored discs, their posture shifting between casual conversation and intense focus. Some took long strides, launching discs high into the air, while others threw with precision, like a bullet shot at that bullseye. It was easy to figure out a game was in motion, and both Dougie and I were curious. We sat alongside that creek watching, trying to piece it all together. It was clear there was a system. Tees, fairways, targets, but the scoring? The strategy? That was all a mystery. And that night, curiosity got the best of me. I typed into the search bar, "Tell me about Frisbee golf." First, it's officially known as disc golf. It's a sport that dates back to the 1970s. Its roots are tangled in the counterculture movement that also gave rise to the modern flying disc itself. The concept is simple. Players start at a designated tee, aiming to land their disc in a metal basket in as few throws as possible. Like traditional golf, courses have pars, hazards, and various shot techniques, but instead of clubs and balls, it's about the flick of a wrist, the arc of the throw, and the wind's cooperation, or defiance. And as for how a town like Thornton, Iowa, ended up with a disc golf course, That's part of the charm, really. Unlike basketball or football, which demand packed stadiums and roaring crowds, disc golf thrives in the quiet corners, public parks, forgotten fields, green spaces where a few metal baskets can transform an empty lot into an arena. It's low cost, easy to maintain, and open to anyone willing to give it a try. So I guess, in a place like Thornton, it sort of fits. A map says it's a 100-mile trek in most any direction to get to any serious population. So instead of going there, why not bring some of them here? So the next afternoon, crossing that wooden bridge again, I found myself watching those players differently. Now, I knew the game they played. I understood their concentration, their laughter, the quiet nods they exchanged after a particularly good throw. It was a world that I hadn't expected to find here in Thornton, population 400. But then again, at the same time, that's kind of the beauty of it all, isn't it? Life out there. You never know what you're going to find. Or where you're going to find it. And it probably goes without saying, Thornton, Iowa isn't just disc golf. A bit more internet surfing would tell us as we sat here that we were in just one more piece of it all. A piece of the country formed millions of years ago, sculpted by the glacial movements that left these fertile soils and gently rolling hills. The ones Native Americans would trek down into and across North America to find, only to be joined by us European explorers all those centuries later. And here in Thornton, it's the same old story. Just different names. Different pioneers. Here, a guy named William Thornton would show up in the area in the late 1800s, stake himself some land, and before he knew it, a settlement, growth, and a town that would come to bear his name. It's become more than clear at this point that throughout this part of the country, it's always been about the soil, the crops. And it's no different here in Thornton. They'd built themselves a town complete with 2 grain mills, a blacksmith shop, a general store, and a railway line in no time. And in the 167 years that have passed since Thornton's settlement and founding, it doesn't feel like much has changed, really. I mean, sure, dirt roads and streets are mostly paved over, horses and buggies replaced with cars, and the mills are bigger, and lots of trucks through a railway yard with a lot more tracks. Maybe a few more houses, most of them pretty old. But it's still a place, a community revolving around the lives of some 400 folks, just like 100 years ago. And then, that one more click. Happened again here. During an afternoon walk with Dougie, we passed a sign in a yard that read, Thornton Militia meetings here. Studied it. In fact, I took a picture of it. Thornton Militia. Well, first of all, stupid pandemic. I really just wanted to walk up, knock on the door, and ask. But somehow that just didn't feel right. Besides, the place looked pretty empty. So I'd have to resort to the internet again. What's a militia? And according to the internet, the term militia in the United States has a long and complex history. It originally referred to a group of civilians trained as soldiers, but not as part of the quote-unquote regular army. The concept dates back to colonial times, when local militias were formed to defend communities against threats like Native American attacks or even foreign invasions. And during the American Revolution, militias played a crucial role in the fight for independence. After the Revolution, the importance of militias continued, and they were incorporated into the new nation's defense strategy. The Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution which mentions the right to keep and bear arms, was partly intended to ensure that the states could maintain militias. In modern times, the term militia can have all kinds of different connotations. Some militia groups are involved in historical reenactments, while others may focus on community defense, or even political activism. Man, I had to stop there. For now, anyways. Made myself a note to dig into this a bit more later. That reference to the Second Amendment and the right to bear arms, well, it sort of left me feeling a little bit embarrassed. I realized that I didn't know exactly what the Second Amendment said. Now, I of course knew the right to bear arms part, but that's what everyone shouts about. What did the rest of the amendment say? What was its intent? But I just didn't have the brain power for that rabbit hole this evening. It was a beautiful August evening in Thornton. Instead, the evening would be spent crossing that bridge one more time for our last walk around Thornton. A quick stop at the Senec for some snacks, and later, those snacks in a movie. No idea what direction we'll head tomorrow. September's coming. Probably should think about south. Wherever we land next. I wonder what we'll learn there.
Turns out, this thing called life comes with a lot of rules. Maybe it's time to break a few. Because you can. No, seriously. You can.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.